Hi, near and dear ones. Today's story is The Door of Everdawn. Let's begin. There once lived a quiet, gentle girl named Leela Rowan, who lived at the very edge of the Willow Mist village, a small place surrounded by whispering forests and silver-tipped mountains. Leela was 12, small for her age, with soft hazel eyes that seemed to hold a never-ending storm of thoughts. Unlike the other children, Leela didn't have many friends. She wasn't disliked, she simply didn't belong in a world that expected loud laughter and simple dreams. She often spent her afternoons wandering through the Willow Mist woods, humming to herself and watching sunlight dance between the branches. It was the only place where she felt less alone. One particularly quiet evening, as the sun dipped behind the mountains and painted the sky with oranges and violets, Leela noticed something unusual beneath an old willow tree. A light. A tiny, trembling light, like a candle flame, but colder, bluer, almost alive. She knelt down, brushing aside moss and leaves, revealing a small metal key, unlike anything she had ever seen. It shimmered like starlight trapped in silver. The moment her fingers touched it, the light pulsed. Not randomly, not wildly. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Leela gasped and dropped it, but the key didn't fall back onto the ground. It hovered in the air, spinning slowly, as if greeting her. What are you?" she whispered. The key floated gently into her palm, warm and humming softly. A breeze swept through the trees, whispering her name. Leela. She stumbled back. The forest had never spoken to her before. The willow branches parted on their own, clearing a narrow path she had never seen in all her years wandering these woods. The glowing key tugged her gently forward, a soft force pulling her toward the unknown. Her heart raced, but something deep inside whispered, "Go." The path led her to a clearing she didn't recognize, even though she knew the forest better than anyone. At the center of the clearing stood a massive stone archway, completely covered in vines. But as the key glowed brighter, the vines fell away, revealing something breathtaking. A door, tall, ancient, carved with swirling constellations and unfamiliar runes. And though it stood in the middle of the forest, there were no walls attached to it, just the door, standing alone, silent, waiting. Leela swallowed hard. "Is this for me?" The key rose from her hand and drifted toward the door's keyhole, sliding perfectly. A deep, echoing sound filled the air, as though the world itself took a long breath. The carvings on the door lit up in brilliant gold, each rune glowing as if waking from centuries of sleep. Then, slowly, the door swung open. What lay beyond was not the rest of the forest. It was a world made of light. A glowing meadow stretched out beneath floating lanterns that glimmered like trapped fireflies. Trees shone with crystalline leaves. The sky swirled with hues of turquoise, lavender, and rose gold. In the distance, mountains shimmered like they were carved from pure moonstone. It was beautiful, impossible, and calling to her. Leela stepped forward, heart pounding, but before she could cross the threshold, she heard a soft voice behind her. "Don't go." She spun around. An elderly man stood just beyond the clearing, leaning on a wooden staff twisted with roots. His white hair fell past his shoulders, and his robe shimmered like threads of sunlight.
Who are you?" Leela whispered. "My name is Eldon," the man said gently. "And you must listen carefully, Leela. That door should not have opened." Eldon stepped closer, his eyes shimmering with ancient sadness. "That door leads to Everdawn, the Forgotten Realm, the first land born when magic itself came into existence." Leela blinked. "Everdawn? But no one in the village talks about a place like that." "They do not remember," Eldon replied. "Memory is a fragile thing, easily stolen, easily erased." Leela clutched the glowing key. "Why did I find this? Why did the door open for me?" "Because Everdawn has chosen you," Eldon said softly, "and that means you are in great danger." A cold wind shivered through the trees. The sky darkened slightly. Leela's heart tightened. "What kind of danger?" Eldon looked at the door, his expression darkening with fear. "There is a darkness in Everdawn, a creature born from broken promises and forgotten hearts. Long ago, it tried to cross into our world. We sealed the realm away to protect humanity." He touched the door lightly. "But the seal cannot open unless someone pure of heart finds the key of dawn." Leela stared at the key, trembling. "You mean me?" "Yes," Eldon nodded. "The realm has awakened because it believes you can help restore the light." I don't understand. I'm just a girl. I'm not brave or strong or special." Eldon reached out and touched her shoulder. "Child, the bravest hearts are the ones who do not know they are brave." Before Leela could respond, a deep rumbling echoed from the other side of the door, low, ancient, and filled with hunger. Her breath caught. What was that? Eldon's grip tightened on his staff. The darkness knows the door has opened. The meadow's light flickered. The colorful sky dimmed. A shadow slithered somewhere far beyond sight. Eldon turned urgently toward Leela. "You must close the door, now." "But I don't know how." "The key," Eldon pointed. "Remove it." A violent burst of wind cut him off and nearly knocked Leela to the ground. The door trembled, its glowing runes flickering chaotically. Something enormous hit the other side. A second blow, a third. Each strike made the world around them shake. Eldon shouted over the rumbling, "Hurry, Leela, before it breaks through." Leela reached out for the key, but the moment her fingers touched it, the door exploded with golden light, pulling her forward into Everdawn. She screamed as the world twisted around her, colors blending, light spiraling, ground falling away. And then, silence. She landed on soft grass, breathless and shaken. She turned back toward the door, but it was gone. Only endless meadow stretched behind her. Eldon, the forest, the door. Everything had vanished. Leela stood alone in the magical world she wasn't supposed to enter. And somewhere in the glowing distance, a something was moving, watching, waiting. A whisper drifted through the shimmering air. "Welcome, child of the key." Leela's heart thudded painfully. She knew, without question, she was no longer alone. Leela took one hesitant step forward, her breath fogging slightly in the luminous air. Everdawn looked beautiful, too beautiful, almost painfully so. Every flower glowed softly, every blade of grass shimmered like it had swallowed starlight. But beauty in fairy tales always held a shadow, and Leela could feel it. Something unseen watched her, weaving through the stillness. She clutched the silver key tightly, its soft glow comforting her like a warm hand. "Okay, Leela," she whispered to herself. "You're in a magical world, alone, with no door home." Her voice trembled. But walking back wasn't an option. There was no back. So she walked. As she continued through the starlit meadow, the strange shimmer in the air began to form soft music, gentle humming blending with the breeze. It was beautiful, familiar somehow, like a lullaby heard long before birth. The path beneath her feet wasn't even a real path. It formed as she walked, golden dust blooming where her shoes touched the ground, guiding her forward. Soon she reached a clearing where tiny floating creatures danced in spirals. At first, she thought they were fireflies, but when one drifted close, she gasped. They had delicate wings, glowing bodies, and faces shaped like tiny children. "Hello," one whispered in a voice like bells. Leela stumbled back, heart pounding. Do you talk?" The little creature giggled. "We sing more than we talk. Words are too small for Everdawn." What are you?" she asked, anxiously. "We are luminets," another said, hovering near her cheek. "Born from hope, living in song. You are the child of the key." "I didn't mean to come here," Leela explained anxiously. "I just touched the key and Everdawn opened to you," the first luminet replied knowingly. "It opens only to those whose hearts carry both sorrow and light." Leela lowered her gaze. She carried more sorrow than she ever let anyone see. Suddenly, the shimmering air changed. The luminet's glow dimmed. All of them turned toward the distance at the same moment, like flowers bending to a sudden storm. "What's wrong?" Leela whispered. "The Shadeborn move," one said, trembling. "What are Shadeborn?" But the luminets were already fleeing, their lights streaking into the sky like shooting stars. Leela's skin prickled. The sky darkened. The grass stilled. Even the air held its breath. A whisper, low and cold, drifted across the meadow. "Child of the key." Leela backed away, clutching the glowing silver key to her chest. "Who's there?" No reply. Only movement in the tall grass, slow, creeping, circling. She ran. Leela sprinted across the meadow until her lungs burned. The ground dipped downward, revealing a wide, crystal river glowing blue like liquid diamonds. Strange fish swam within it, translucent, shimmering, leaving trails of light with every movement. For a moment, the river felt safe. She knelt beside it, scooping water into her hands. The water felt warm, like sunlight itself, and drinking it eased the tightness in her chest. But then, ripples formed. A soft hum vibrated through the river. The water twisted upward, rising like a column before her eyes. Leela gasped and stumbled back as the water shaped itself into a tall, slender figure made entirely of glowing liquid. A water spirit. Her heart hammered. The watery figure knelt, its face gentle and shimmering. "Do not fear, little traveler," it said, voice flowing like a calm stream.
I am Nereus, guardian of the crystal river.
Leela stood speechless. You know who I am?
Nereus nodded. Everdawn has whispered of your arrival for many seasons. The key in your hand is older than time. But I don't understand, Leela pleaded. Why me? Eldon said I'm in danger, that a dark creature wants to escape this realm. The Umbreath's glowing expression dimmed. The creature you speak of is called the Umbreath, a being born from forgotten promises and broken hearts. Leela shivered. Eldon said it tried to break into my world. It did, Nereus said solemnly, long ago, and soon it might try again. But why me? Leela whispered. Why does Eldon think I can help? Nereus's liquid hand touched Leela's cheek, warm and gentle. Because you carry a rare gift, a heart but remembers pain yet still chooses kindness. A heart like yours can restore Everdawn's fading light. Leela lowered her eyes. It doesn't feel rare, she said quietly. It just feels lonely. Lonely hearts see what others overlook. That is power, child. Before Leela could respond, a violent tremor shook the river. Nereus's shape flickered. It comes, the guardian whispered. Run to the Moonspire tree. It will protect you. Where is that? Leela cried. Nereus pointed upstream. Follow the light. The river suddenly roared, splitting as a massive surge of shadow burst forth on the far bank. The ground cracked. Trees bent away as if terrified. A figure made of darkness rose, tall and twisted, its presence colder than winter. The Umbreath. Its voice scraped through the air. You cannot hide from me, child. Nereus's swell protectively, towering over Leela. Go, the guardian shouted. Leela ran. Branches whipped her face. The world shook around her. Behind her, water and shadow collided with explosive force. But she didn't look back. She followed the faint, silvery light floating ahead, toward the Moonspire tree. Leela burst into a clearing and froze, breath caught in her throat. There stood a tree taller than any tower, its bark shimmering silver, its leaves glowing pale blue like moonlight woven into silk. The Moonspire tree. It felt alive. A soft pulse radiated from it, warm and steady, like a heartbeat guiding her in. She touched the trunk. A voice, soft and ancient, echoed inside her mind. Child of the key, enter. Literally opened, its bark folding away to reveal a hollow chamber glowing with silver light. Inside, a staircase spiraled downward. Leela stepped in, shaking. The moment she entered, the tree sealed behind, plunging everything into silence. She was safe, for now, but she wasn't alone. A faint figure sat curled in the corner of the glowing chamber, small, trembling, maybe her age or slightly older. A boy. He lifted his head, eyes wide and frightened, but shining, strangely familiar. You're real? He whispered. Leela stepped back, startled. Who are you? The boy swallowed hard. My name is Eldon, he said shakily. I've been trapped in Everdawn for years. Leela's breath caught. He continued, voice trembling with fear and hope. You're the first person I've seen in a long time, and if the key chose you, then maybe Maybe you can help me escape." Leela's legs felt weak. She had come to a magical world, been chased by shadows, met guardians of light. But this? A lost boy? Trapped for years? This changed everything. Her journey was no longer about fear. It was about someone who needed her, someone she could save. Leela stepped toward Eldon slowly. "It's okay," she said softly. "You're not alone anymore." But deep beneath the moonspire tree, something ancient stirred, and the Umbreth had already begun searching.
The next morning, the prince woke with a heaviness in his chest. He had escaped the forest of forgotten footsteps, but the memory of the silver-eyed girl still refused to leave him. Her voice, soft like falling snow, sad like a broken lullaby, echoed in his heart. He continued his journey until the trees thinned and an enormous orchard spread across the valley. Thousands of fruit trees stood tall, but something was terribly wrong. Every tree was frozen in mid-wither, as if life and death were fighting over them at the same time. A cold wind brushed past him, carrying a whisper. "Turn back, before you hear the weeping." He ignored it and stepped inside. The moment he did, the sky darkened, the fruit shivered on branches, and a soft, heartbreaking cry rose from somewhere deep inside the orchard. It was not the cry of a child, nor a woman. It was the cry of something ancient. He followed the sound and found a clearing with a single glowing tree in the center. Its bark shimmered like pearl, its leaves sparkled like shattered starlight. Beneath it sat a girl, barefoot, trembling, her skin glowing faintly like moonlight on calm water. She wasn't human, she wasn't spirit. She was something in between. She looked at him with fear at first, then curiosity. "Why are you here?" she whispered. "Mortals do not enter the weeping orchard." "The orchard called to me, and maybe you did too." She lowered her eyes. "I am cursed. Everything I touch wilts. Everything that loves me falls apart." The prince knelt, lowering himself to her level. "Then let me stay far enough not to be destroyed, but close enough that you're not alone." A tear slipped from her eye. It fell onto the grass, and the grass turned to frost. She gasped and moved back. "You see, even my sorrow is dangerous. I've survived danger before, but I have never survived emptiness, and you look empty." Her lips parted as if she wanted to deny it, but she didn't. The night deepened. Fireflies gathered around them like tiny lanterns. She began to speak, quietly, slowly, telling him her story. She was born when the moon split into 3 shards during an ancient eclipse. One shard turned into light, one into darkness, and one into her, a living echo of moon magic. For centuries she had wandered, searching for a purpose, but wherever she stayed too long, life wilted. The orchard was dying because of her. "And the worst part," she whispered, "I cannot leave until someone breaks the curse." "How?" the prince asked. She shook her head. "By doing the impossible. Someone must give me something I cannot accept." "What is that?" he whispered. "Love." The prince's heart tightened. "Then the curse is already trembling." Her eyes widened at his words, but before she could respond, the orchard shook violently. The ground cracked, the trees wailed like living creatures. A monstrous presence awakened, the guardian of the orchard, an ancient creature made of twisted branches and smoke, emerged, furious. The girl cried out, "Run! It will kill you! It exists to protect the curse!" But the prince stood in front of her. "I will not run, not from destiny, and not from you." The guardian roared, shaking the entire valley. The story of the prince and the moonlit girl was only beginning, and the hardest part was yet to come.
The guardian of the orchard towered above them, its body a twisted mass of roots, branches, and dark smoke. Its hollow eyes glowed like dying embers locked on the prince with ancient fury. The moonlit girl clutched her glowing hands to her chest. "It will not stop," she whispered. "It is bound to destroy anyone who gets close to me." "Then it will break its bindings tonight," the prince said softly. The guardian lunged, its enormous arms sweeping toward him like a collapsing tree. The prince rolled aside, grabbing a fallen branch glowing with pale light. The orchard itself seemed to lend him a weapon. The ground trembled with each step of the guardian. The orchard screamed. The stars dimmed. The girl cried out, "Stop! You can't kill it! It is part of me. If it dies, I die too!" The prince froze. The guardian crashed its fist into the earth, sending a shockwave that knocked him to his knees. Blood on his lip, breath short, he whispered, "Then I will not kill it." He stood, gripping the glowing branch tightly. "I will free it." The moonlit girl shook her head in terror. "Nothing can free it. Nothing can free me." But the prince stepped closer to the guardian, lifting the branch like a torch. "It is bound by the same curse that binds you, and curses," he whispered, "break when truth is spoken with a fearless heart." He turned toward her, his voice shaking but steady. "You think your touch destroys, but you have only ever feared hurting others. You think you bring sorrow, but your existence is a miracle. You think you cannot be loved." He dropped the glowing branch and walked toward her, slowly, gently, as if approaching moonlight itself. "But I do love you." The moment he spoke those words, the orchard exploded with silver light. The guardian roared, not in rage this time, but in release. Branches fell from its body like old chains, smoke lifted from it like a dying storm, and the girl? She gasped, her glow intensifying. Her frozen tears melted, her trembling stopped, her curse shattered. The guardian bowed its head to the prince before dissolving into a shower of silver leaves that floated upward, becoming stars. The orchard breathed, 1,000 trees blossoming at once, petals spinning through the air like falling snow. The girl looked at her hands, trembling. She whispered, "They're warm. I've never been warm." The prince smiled. "You're alive now, truly alive." For the first time in centuries, she stepped forward and touched another person, him, and nothing wilted. Life bloomed. She threw her arms around him, crying softly, not from pain, but from freedom. The orchard glowed brighter, celebrating her rebirth. Their story ended not in tragedy, but in a beginning written in moonlight, courage, and a love strong enough to rewrite fate. Let your heart rest and drift into a peaceful night. Have a good sleep.